Good morning, everyone. My name's Tristan Rigby, and I'm the Commercial Partnerships Manager at Care First. Thank you for joining me today in the latest COVID-19 webinar that we're completing on how to be a good business leader post-lockdown. Now, just before I start, just a couple of housekeeping things. Obviously, everybody is in listen only. However, people can type questions by just going on the control panel, clicking the questions tab, and then you can type your questions there, which is completely confidential. Nobody can see who has asked those questions, and then I will look at those at the end of today's session and answer them best I can. So without further ado, I will start today's session. So previous to COVID-19, good business leaders were perhaps associated with being transformational visionaries, workforce-centered role models with strong and extensive business experience and passion for what they did. Post-lockdown, we may well be looking for something else in our business leaders, including empathy for our employee and customer concerns and limitations. Those who can show honesty, transparency, and integrity, those who can adapt their business quickly and successfully to a completely different marketplace, and those who know how to energize their workforce in difficult times. Now, when I did my research for today's webinar, I came across an article from a renowned neuroscientist named Dr. Linda Shaw, and she's also a business psychologist and change specialist, and she shared some of her top tips of how to be a good leader during the global challenges we're currently facing, and also how to manage stress and performance within the workforce in these difficult and changing times. And one of the first things that she mentioned was to stay human and grounded, because the best leaders lead by example. Some business leaders did well during lockdown, working side by side with their colleagues on the shop floors in leading supermarkets. Others failed miserably with management working from home whilst they expected their staff to go into the workplace. Work as a team during hard times. Exemplify the behaviours you want to develop and radiate your passion and influence. Your employees will feel supported and loyal and work to a higher standard. What sets remarkable leaders above all others in their ability to tell themselves these truths each day, which keeps them focused, grounded, and aware? The first of those is, I can always do better. Reaching, chief executive level or any leadership role doesn't mean that you've essentially reached the pinnacle of your success and fulfilled your potential. It does not even guarantee that you're a good CEO or leader. Like everyone else, you can always make improvements to your existing skills and personal traits, as well as develop new ones. It could be that you've been wrong on occasion. Being able to admit that you've made a mistake does not diminish your leadership. If anything, it alleviates you in the eyes of others who admire your ability to take responsibility and be accountable for your actions. It shows that accountability doesn't put you in hot water. You just take care of the problem if it's yours. I'm only as good as my team. Successful leaders recognize that success has not come from just what they've done. Instead, they've simply guided and provided the resources for the true talent responsible for the company's results. Some of the most remarkable leaders that I've worked with are also the most humble. Leading by example, walk the talk is a long used buzz phrase, because it is true that walking the talk is what effective leaders do. Standing there and telling everyone else what to do, but not doing it yourself, certainly will not motivate anyone. However, when a leader does what they ask, suggest or tell their team, more people will actually follow suit. Getting more from your team when you inspire them. There's no truer statement, especially during tough times, when it's easy to lose motivation and hard to keep sight of goals. Like a football manager looking dejectedly at the scoreboard and seeing a huge gap between the scores. What a remarkable leader will do is fire up the team to play past the current results, close in and surpass whatever challenge is in their way. Looking at retaining talent by rewarding and recognizing individuals. A leader who understands talent drives success realizes they have to do something to keep that talent. While remarkable leaders differ on what rewards and recognition they find works best, the truth is that giving something in return for what they're getting from this talent is the best way to retain them. Employees who know they're valued by leadership are more likely to stick around. Love what you're doing. Telling as a leader, telling themselves that they love their jobs does not mean that they need the reminder to carry on. In most cases, it actually means that the remarkable leader is simply expressing their enthusiasm and passion for what they're doing. Sometimes they might be thinking, wow, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. Passion for what they do makes leaders inspiring and able to excite their teams. Love, happiness, energy, and satisfaction are infectious. Never be done learning. The most successful leaders note their voracious appetites for knowledge accumulation. They're interested in what others can tell them, as well as what they can uncover themselves through research and study. These successful leaders make learning a lifetime career because knowledge is power that can propel that leader and their company ahead of those who do not focus on a continual learning process. Communication, being able to communicate more. No leader has ever been criticized for over communicating. The top leaders in the business world understand that they can always do a better job with communicating to their team and other stakeholders. Communication can be frequent, using new and evolving channels, better messaging, or simply listening actively. I've had to work very hard to become better at this, and I'm sure a lot of leaders look at that the same way. Looking at failing and still being able to succeed. Remarkable leaders realize that winning isn't everything, embrace their failures for what they learned and how led them to their success. Leaders who work through failure find that when success comes, it is that much sweeter. They appreciate that hard work it is to be successful. These truths serve as mantras, inspiration for personal goals that are important to emphasize daily. It reminds good leaders where they stand with their employees, family, friends, who are their real responsibility. Positive truths guide and push leaders to discover and embrace their purpose in business and life. Trying to look at remove uncertainty for your workforce, especially in these times that we're living in. I understand it might not be possible, but where possible, because anxiety will be running high. Research shows that people find uncertainty more intimidating and more stressful than known outcomes, whether they might be good or bad. People exposed to prolonged uncertainty will release stress hormones and display symptoms of anxiety, like decreased productivity and low mood. Many businesses are going to have to make many hard decisions in the coming months, or perhaps years. So ensuring your business plan is clear, honest, and transparent, I think is very good advice. Communicate, we touched on this earlier, so talk to your management and team, be open to questions, and ask managers and HR to be intuitive to all employees' needs. If redundancies are due to happen, think carefully before making announcements to ensure that you're ready to be clear and to manage expectations. Support the workers who are going to be made redundant in any way you can. Looking to be flexible with locations and patterns. Work patterns are clearly going to change for office-based businesses now that staff have successfully proven that they can work well from home. If you facilitate your staff's desire for flexibility and understanding, you breed loyalty and motivation. Everyone's personal circumstances are different. Find out what bespoke support staff need and provide it wherever you can. There are opportunities, I think, for leaders to create more flexibility. So flexibility will look in each workplace because culture is as unique to an organisation as DNA is to a person. So in some work scenarios, it is very difficult to be flexible, but where you can and where you can identify and brand the pattern of flexibility that works for their employees and their business needs is really a positive thing. However, leaders should consider the following types of flexibility when employees are beginning to seek those things. So it could be flexibility in work schedule. Certain jobs require employees to be physically present. However, there is an opportunity for leaders everywhere to examine policies to determine if they can better incorporate flexibility overall. Some research again that I did when working mothers were asked how well their employers met their needs to change their schedule when needed, nearly 4 in 10, 38%, couldn't say very well. Addressing this problem will not only meet employees' needs, but also attract a diverse pool of top talent. Female job seekers are just one example. 50% rated a greater work-life balance and better personal well-being as a very important attribute in a new job. Flexibility in work locations. The leaders should prepare now to be asked whether their workforce can continue working from home when public health restrictions are no longer necessary. A Gallup article published in early April that I viewed indicated the shift already has 3 in 5 workers who have been doing their jobs from home during the coronavirus pandemic would prefer to continue to work remotely as much as possible. And from that same panel survey at that time, 41% said they preferred to return to their workplace or office to work as they did before the crisis. So it can be very different for different people, and it's just important to hear what your employees want and see where possible and when appropriate what you can do to be that flexible. Long before this crisis, Work and Life Wellbeing reported pointed out that almost employed women with children, 33% rated their workplaces very poorly when asked about allowing you to work from home when needed. Flexibility shouldn't change performance goals, but in addition to the when, leaders should consider the where for workers can change too. Full-time remote workers isn't the only solution. Leaders should reimagine what work lives can look like for their teams and ask themselves if employees should work from home more frequently if some desire to do so. To support leaders, team managers can ask their teams how they can partner together for this effort to be successful. For some teams, it may mean different shifts of people need to be in the office at different times, or they trade off week by week, individual by individual. For other teams, it may mean they primarily follow a work from home setup, but with a regular in-person connect each week. And for other teams still, working from home may not be possible. The point is to consider what is possible as you also strive to ensure the best employee experience for your team. And a big part of that is trusting your staff. So studies show that productivity and morale increase when people are trusted and respected to make their own decisions at work. Don't micromanage. Instead, find ways to energize your team. Trusting your employees can bring big benefits for your organisation and for your workers. And here are just some of the reasons why that would be the case and why it truly pays off. Enhance employee engagement. Trusted employees feel more valued, which will help to make them feel more engaged in their work. And every business needs an engaged workforce to be successful. This will also promote a greater sense of job satisfaction for workers and lower staff turnover rates. In fact, one survey I found by PwC found that employees in a trusting environment felt 76% more engaged than those in low trust workplaces. What this boils down to is that trusted employees generally feel happier, and happy people are more likely to go the extra mile for their employers. Increased productivity. Trust is seen as an essential ingredient for building productivity in the workplace. Trusting your employees will mean that you allow them to get on with their work and do what they do best, instead of requiring them to frequently check back with you. If you have an effective HR recruitment system in place, you can be confident you have hired the right person for the job and trust them to do it well. This will free you up to carry out more productive activities instead of wasting time micromanaging people. In fact, research by Great Place to Work found that organisations with a high trust culture had stock market returns 2 to 3 times greater than the market average. It also enables flexible working, as I mentioned earlier. So for flexible remote workers to flourish, employers need to trust their staff to work unsupervised wherever they can. Flexible working, which might include part-time hours, early or later start times, or working from home, can improve employee satisfaction, allowing them to achieve a better work-life balance, as well as increase your organisation's productivity. It's been found to increase employee retention and help combat workplace burnout. However, without trust from employers, this type of working cannot be successful. Improved communication. That's been a large message that we've pointed on already today. Putting trust in your employees can really open the channels of communication. Trust is a two-way street, and if you trust your employees, this will lead them to trusting you, which in turn will enable a flow of honest communication between both parties. This can only be achieved if employees feel secure and valued enough to voice their genuine opinions. Such communication is vital if you want to get a realistic view of how your organisation is really performing and to address any issues before they become problems. Trusting and empowering your employees to give honest feedback can be a great way to increase employee engagement, provided you seriously consider and implement the suggestions they may have. It helps to build team spirit as well, trusting your staff. So organisations that give their employees the space to work independently will create a healthier atmosphere and more productive team. Trusting your people to work autonomously creates a greater sense of community and helps to build a healthier team spirit that is as important prerequisite for success. Research suggests that in high trust environments, employees feel more confident in themselves and each other. They are more open to working with others to innovate and take prudent risks. They know they don't need to look nervously over their shoulder. Individuals can instead look to each other, and if they make a mistake, know that their team members will be supportive and that errors are an opportunity to learn and grow. And that encourages employee advocacy. Employees repay your trust in them by becoming your most enthusiastic advocates. In this day and age of Glassdoor reviews and social media, don't underestimate the benefits of online word-of-mouth recommendations. Recruiting top talent is harder if there's no trust in the workplace, because frustrated employees may well post poor reviews, which will dissuade others from applying for vacancies. Similarly, a single positive comment from employees can help your organisation to stand out from the crowd. Continue to network and collaborate, and what I mean by that is break down barriers and reach out to colleagues, even competitors and like-minded businesses to share ideas, resources and plans, just like we're seeing scientists working together to find a vaccine for COVID-19. By coming at it from different angles, the same can be done in business. Being united can make us stronger. Continue to think basically, so it could be differently to significant change. It could be some may struggle with isolation, some may display anger, anxiety, fear, burnout or sadness, whilst others may have felt more able to rise to the challenges or have easier circumstances. Identify who needs support and allow workers and customers enough time to acclimatise to change. Ask for feedback and be open to questions to get everyone involved during times of change. Be good at giving and receiving feedback. Give regular, effective recognition and constructive feedback on how people can improve their performance and develop their skills, even during times of considerable change. Seek out 360-degree feedback and inspire your workforce too. This might not be an obvious time to do extra training, but when we learn new skills, the brain has to create new neural pathways. So keep creating those challenges. We're continually receiving and giving feedback, whether explicit through oral or written language, or implicit in gestures or tone of voice. Feedback conveys information about behaviours and offers an evaluation of the quality of those behaviours. So while it's easy to take feedback personally, strive to perceive it as a learning opportunity. Feedback can reinforce existing strengths of behaviour and increase recipients' abilities to detect and remedy errors of their own. Use the tips that I found in an article, again, while I was researching this, which really I think would be really effective in any workplace. So one of those tips could be to listen to the feedback given. This means not interrupting. Hear the person out and listen to what they're really saying. Not when you assume they will say. You can absorb more information if you concentrate on listening and understand rather than being defensive and focusing on your response. Be aware of your responses. Your body language and tone of voice often speak louder than words. Try to avoid putting up barriers. If you look distracted and bored, that sends a negative message as well. Attentiveness, on the other hand, indicates that you value what someone has to say and puts both of you at ease. Be open. This means being receptive to new ideas and different opinions. Often there is more than one way of doing something, and others may have a completely different viewpoint on a given topic. You may learn something worthwhile. Looking to understand the message, make sure that you understand what is being said to you, especially before responding to the feedback. Ask questions for clarification if necessary. Listen actively by repeating key points so that you know how you've been interpreted feedback correctly. In a group environment, ask for others' feedback before responding. As well, when possible, be explicit as to what kind of feedback you are seeking beforehand, so you're not taken by surprise. Reflect and decide what to do. Assess the value of the feedback, the consequences of using it or ignoring it, and then decide what to do because of it. Your response is your choice. If you disagree with the feedback, consider asking for a second opinion from someone else, and follow up. There are many ways to follow up on feedback, because your follow-up will simply involve implementing the suggestions given to you. In other situations, you might want to set up another meeting, discuss the feedback, or to resubmit the revised work. Giving effective feedback is the other side of the coin. So, prioritizing your ideas, limit your feedback to the most important issues. Consider the feedback's potential value to the receiver and how you would respond. Could you act on the feedback that they've given you as well? Too much feedback provided at a single time can be overwhelming to the employee. So concentrate on the behaviour, not the person. So one strategy is to open by stating the behaviour in question, then describing how you feel about it, and ending with what you want. This model enables you to avoid sounding negative, by using I and focusing on behaviours instead of assumed interpretations. For example, I haven't seen you in class for a week. I'm worried that you're missing important information. Can we meet soon to discuss it? Instead of, you obviously don't care about this course. Balance the content. Use the sandwich approach by beginning by providing comments on specific strengths. This provides reinforcement and identifies the things the employees should keep doing, and then identify specific areas of improvement and ways to make changes, and then perhaps conclude with a positive comment. This model helps to bolster confidence and keep the weak areas in perspective. For example, your presentation was great. You made good eye contact and were well prepared. You were a little hard to hear at the back of the room, but with some practice, you can overcome this. Keep up the good work, instead of you didn't speak loudly enough. However, the presentation went well. Be specific. Avoid general comments that may be limited to the receiver. Try to include examples to illustrate your statement as well. Offering alternatives rather than just giving advice allows the receiver to decide what to do with your feedback. Own the feedback. And when I say by that, when offering evaluative comments, use the pronoun I rather than they or one, which would imply that your opinion is universally agreed on. Remember that feedback is merely your opinion, so please be careful with the phrases and wording that you use. And offer continuing support. Feedback should be a continuous process, not a one-time event. After offering feedback, make a conscious effort to follow up. Let employees know you're available if they have questions, and if appropriate, ask for another opportunity to provide more feedback in the future. So I hope that's been a useful insight today with some of the research that I've done. Just a reminder, like we do for all of these webinars that we've been completing throughout COVID, is that Care First is there 24 hours a day, every single day of the year, to provide any support for the types of issues that people may be having during these dark times. The counsellors are also management support trained, so they can help with some of those things that I've mentioned today, help you get a perspective, and you can use the service for, just a second opinion on how to manage different things, especially different wording that you can use to try and be more positive. So just a reminder that that's also available 24/7, as well as the standard counselling. If you need to know any contact details, that you need to log into your lifestyle site, which is a hub of information and articles and resources, please contact your HR team or line manager, who'll be able to provide that with you, and also your free phone number as well. I haven't wanted to put just one number on here because it could be different depending on the organisation that you work for. So I'm now available to take any questions. So I'm just going to quickly look at the question panel. So it won't be a moment, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them in now, and I will look at them and reply to as many as I can. Okay, had lots of comments saying it's been really useful, which is great. Okay. Someone's asked for a copy of the slides. I'll make sure that I follow up with the slides after today's session. No problem at all. And please also be reminded that this session will be recorded. So if there's anybody that couldn't come today, which you think would be beneficial to view it, then please do click the same link as you would have to register for this webinar, and you can view the recording usually about half an hour after the session has been completed. I've got another question here saying, being flexible with work patterns and locations is difficult to influence upwards. Do you have any tips on this? Yeah, this can be very difficult because obviously senior managers have been informed. It could be from the head office, or it could be from a parent company on how the working patterns and how flexibility should be managed going forwards, even after lockdown. So it's very difficult to comment on that, because lots of different organisations will have different circumstances where it is more appropriate to work in the workplace. Unfortunately, some areas it is very difficult to be flexible. All I'd say is it's just to feedback to your manager, any concerns that you have, or if it's going to help with your personal life, if there's any way that they can be more flexible, because then at least they can look into it and see if there is anything that they can do to support that flexibility that you need. Okay, doesn't look like there's any further questions. Thank you very much for your positive comments about today's session. And if any questions arise after today's webinar, then please email me directly and I'll be happy to come back to you. My email address is tristan.rigby@care-first.co.uk. Thank you very much again for coming to today's webinar, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye now.